Businesses today face a growing challenge. How do we budget for IT while maximizing efficiency and controlling costs? With the rise of outsourced IT services and cloud-based solutions, companies struggle to determine their IT budget, to control technology spend, and support business growth. To help solve this mystery, I've called in an expert, Sean Ferrel, CEO of Managed Solution, to help uncover the best strategies for IT budgeting, the role of managed IT services, and how to do more with less when it comes to technology investments.
Holy Chris Davis.
Sean, thank you so much for meeting me here today. Let's start with the big question. Why do IT decision makers struggle to define their budgets, especially when considering whether to insource or outsource IT?
I think IT budgeting overall, whether it's insourcing or outsourcing IT, has become, really challenging over the last bunch of years, whether it's looking at, the cost of internal staff or, support from the outside. I think they've also had to contend with things like the cost of software that's became, what I would consider SaaS-based operational. And now, especially with cloud, is, you're sort of paying for what you use. So when companies are looking at IT budgets, I think they're saying to themselves, or they should be saying to themselves, what are the people that I'm going to have here working with the process behind the scenes, ultimately then parlaying into the tools? How are they going to manage that? And they have to look at it from that lens. People manage process, which then helps with the tools that we end up choosing. So looking at IT budgets holistically from all the things you're going to be leveraging to, create those business outcomes, that's super important to making sure that you have a good budget going forward.
What's the best way to approach IT budgets, whether a company chooses to outsource or keep it in-house?
I think the simple answer to that question is companies and organizations, whether they're insourcing or outsourcing IT, I think a lot of the times they're holding information, software spend, infrastructure, cloud, and just employee spend close to the vest. They're not always looking at it holistically, and that's part of the challenge. It's kind of like, pulling back the curtain or lifting the hood of the car, really getting deep into understanding how companies are spending across the people that support the technology, ultimately the procedures they need to support whatever the tools they're using. I think that's the key here. And so when you're looking at insourcing or outsourcing, oftentimes you're sort of plugging holes with the different types of engineering skills that you need, not always knowing necessarily what it is you're going to support from a software or hardware, cloud, or whatever it is perspective. Those are two of the challenges that when looking at insource or outsource, you need to figure out how can I combine this conversation into one big picture budget conversation.
That makes sense, Sean. Thank you so much. So companies should be evaluating IT support models before they start spending. Now, for businesses just starting on this journey, where should they begin?
There's a couple things that companies need to start thinking about. There is a lot of consolidation happening in terms of, technology companies in general. So we talk about cloud nowadays. We talk about security, AI. The first thing they have to start thinking about is what business outcomes are they trying to achieve? That's the first thing every company should think about is what is it we want technology to do to enable our people? What processes do we want to automate? What AI do we want to bring in? And once you identify those business outcomes with your insourced or outsourced team, then you could go to work on what are the people I'm going to need? What are the tools I'm going to need to sort of build these solutions? And then procedurally, how do the people that I bring in and the tools that we use day to day to, help with these business outcomes, how do I create the right procedures and processes around them so it's managed well? So it starts with business outcomes. It ends, I think, with what are the tools, the processes, and the people we need. So identifying those up front is key to company success.
Would you say that taking this approach ensures businesses can choose the right IT support model, whether that's fully outsourced or a hybrid of internal IT teams and managed IT services?
Yeah, I do. I think like anything we're looking for, whether it's, outside help with accounting or legal services or manufacturing, I think the first step is understanding what it is the business needs to be successful, business outcome based, conversations. And so with that, you start to first look into what are the tools that help me achieve that? Are they software tools, cloud-based tools, specific industry vertical-based tools? And then from there, what are the type of people I'm going to need to support that? And so suddenly your budget becomes a business outcome based conversation where you can actually look at maybe the ROI I'm going to get by achieving this is X, Y.
Budget. What should be the next step for them?
I would say the next step is really looking at efficiency, ultimately figuring out what parts do I insource, what parts do I outsource, where do I have software or hardware or stuff that I built around my technology stack, for lack of a better word, that I can leverage to achieve those business outcomes. I don't think it's one size fits all a lot of the time. I mean, we see companies that are outsourcing help desks versus having internal IT folks, or bringing in outside expertise for certain components of getting a project done, or ultimately, creating these business outcomes. I think it's a moving target a lot of the time, and I think as inside or outside IT companies, it's super important that you're looking at the data at all times, and sort of flexing along the way based upon what your current needs are.
What does the word technology consolidation mean to you when it comes to IT budgeting?
I think we all, as technologists or just general people out there, know the common things that everybody's thinking about this day and age. You have AI and automation. You have, do I move my company to the cloud? Do I make sure my company's secure? And then probably the last piece of that is, how are my users, the people who work with me, how are they being productive in the day-to-day workplace? So, we call it the modern workplace, user productivity. I mean, I think those are some of the key elements that people think about. But what's funny is that most companies go out and look for tools to plug those different holes or fill in those gaps. So they're looking for security tools, or they're looking for modern tools to help users become more productive, or they're looking for a specific AI tool out there that might fit the need of a specific, use case they have. But what's funny is that all the major players out there that we think about, whether it's Microsoft, it's Google, it's, Amazon, all those big companies are building those tool sets right into their own stack of technology. So they're consolidating. I think that makes it so the engineering teams out there who support this type of technology become more focused, I'll say more specialized in these areas. And we don't have such sprawl like we used to, of having, multitudes of engineers, multitudes of technologies, and ultimately, bigger spend on our software and hardware and what technology we use.
Thank you so much, Sean. Do you have any final thoughts?
I really think the upfront discovery, really going in and looking at the business and the outcomes it's trying to achieve, and figuring out, how to create a strategic IT budget by looking at all aspects of IT, not just people, but like I said, processes, tools, all those things are important to looking at what I would consider the total cost of ownership that companies should have when it comes to budgeting for IT. If you don't do it that way, again, I think we kind of remain siloed as it relates to technology. And a lot of the time that results in overall poor experiences for the people who work within our businesses.
Thank you so much, Sean, for shedding a light on the conversation today.
You're so welcome, Inspector.
Looks like we've cracked the case. The missing IT budget wasn't missing at all. It just needed the right approach. If your business is considering outsourcing IT or is looking for support to build a smarter IT budgeting strategy, Managed Solution can help. Download their free Managed IT Services guide in the description below and learn how to find and partner with the right provider to help you optimize technology cost and do more with less. Until next time, Gadg-IT, signing off. We have
trying to get to here, Chris? We're trying to get to, let us. Is that
very good job?